Hello and welcome to my studio. So today I thought we would take a look at 5 different mixed media pages. We are going to look at all sorts of techniques today. We are going to look at blending digital crafting with more traditional supplies. So we've got a hybrid page. We're going to look at collage. We're going to be using our brayer. We're going to be trying all sorts of different stuff. So I'm hoping that today will leave you inspired and give you some idea of what you can do in your art journal. So it looks like we are jumping straight into the crafting with this one, and that is because the footage that we are using for this particular video is a series of lives. So we're kind of creating a little compilation, hence you'll see some of this was an old one, I can tell by the lighting and stuff like that. So we will see sort of different standards of video, but you know, I love my lives, they are so much fun. We go live every Monday at 7:30 and it's a great place to hang out. It's such a lovely community and we sort of craft together. I can answer any questions that we might have. We problem solve a little bit. Some people craft along with me and it's really good fun. I absolutely love doing them. But I do tend to, as soon as the live is finished, I unlist it and pop it in a playlist. So you can find them after the fact if you want. But basically the analytics don't like it, and because it's quite a slower pace, people don't tend to sort of stick around, and then it makes YouTube think that people don't like any of my videos. So I tend to just have them there, and for the people that want to see them, they are there, but they're not kind of going to be served as a serving suggestion. Anywho, in this particular one, we're talking about hybrid crafting. And that is because this Mr. Shroom here that I'm about to stick onto the page, he is one of our free digis from quite some time ago actually. And I decided to create this page, and I have to say I love this. I love taking digital elements, because some people kind of think, oh, I don't do digital. Honestly, once it is printed, it's a physical product and you can do anything with it just the same as if you'd stamp that out. So we've still got our stamps out, we've had our stencils out, we've had our various colouring mediums out, we've just had a right old play, and it has been really good fun. And I absolutely love how this one's turned out. This one was very much inspired by Wonderland, even though we don't have an Alice. The tree is sort of like the painting The Rose is Red, and I just thought Sir Shroom really suited that particular background. So as usual, I am sort of finishing this one off with a sentiment, and here is a fantastic example of hybrid crafting, and I absolutely love it. I have to say this is one of my favourite pages in this particular journal. So next we move on to another page, and again I'm still using my Pink Big 11 by 11 journal, and we are going to do some masking. We did that a little bit in the first page, but I can explain that to you now. So I'm taking some of these stamps and building them up. So these have been designed by the lovely Wendy from Mad Hatters Crafting. There is like one set left on my website, because I asked her if I could have them on my website and they're just so gorgeous, and she said yes, and I have one set left. So this is a mask. So basically you stamp it again on like copier paper, and I tend to use the stick and stay the removable one that you get from Crafter's Companion, and what you can mask it off and then add lots of extra little details. I have to say at this stage it always looks a little bit like a hot mess, but I love this because it's like we can create our own colouring pages, which is so much fun. So you can see it looks so much better once all the masks have come off. Clearly that first stamp that I did, the ink wasn't working terribly well. Look how pale it is in comparison to the rest. Once you get colour on, you never notice. So I start off with putting a whole load of watercolour down, just really loose washes. I'm not even bothered about staying in the lines. I'm just keeping it really loose and getting a base colour down. I wasn't particularly concerned at this point about getting shades and tones. I was going to do that a little bit later with pencils, as you can see me do here. So once it's dried off, I have to say, because this was live, I did dry it off using my heat gun, but once it was dried off, we kind of then go in with some pencil work and try and deepen up some of those shadow areas, which is awesome. And then I've added some little extra details here, and then put that line work back in. So we've popped the line work back in where the dodgy stamping occurred, and that's why I never really worry too much if the stamping doesn't turn out. You can fix it later on. I love this. Wendy's style of stamps are just so gorgeous, and then I had great fun playing, adding in all the extra lines and doodles, and these stamps particularly lent themselves to these extra doodles because they were already there in the line work. Of course, I finish it off using a doodly border because I can't help myself. It's just, I like it. And I like it. That's all I can say. I'm not even going to try and excuse it anymore. I like it. So it went down there and I think it frames it beautifully. That's why I like doodly borders, because it frames it lovely. And we have used this sentiment here of every cup tells a story. Again, that came in the stamp set as well. Just pop that on and then that is this page done. And I absolutely love how this one turned out as well. I adore this. A house and a teacup. I would love to live in a house and a teacup if only that could be real. That it definitely just suits my sense of whimsy. I love tea. I love quirky houses. It's just marvellous. I love it. So now we are working in my handmade journal. This is a journal that I actually made from an old planner in the beginning of the year. And I love it because we've got all sorts of different papers in there, which keeps it varied and interesting. And yeah, I keep reaching for it. This is definitely my most reached for journal this year. So I decided to brayer a background down. I have no idea why. It's not something that I often do. I very rarely use my brayer, despite it being a very cool craft tool. But anyway, this day I decided to do it, and it was a great way of breaking that blank page and getting some colour down. And I've decided to create a sort of a collage style page. So I've got the gorgeous Libby, that's from Libby's Bakery, and she was the starting point. And then I had some scraps of paper from the Sherbet Fizz collection. And then I decided to make these clouds. So these clouds have been created using book page, and it was spare paper that came out of the Folk in the Faraway Tree book that I actually turned into a journal some time ago. And I knocked it back with a little bit of gesso so that that text is sort of a nuance rather than it being in your face a little bit. So we stick all the elements down. These are all little bits and pieces that I found in my bit box. I added flowers to the clouds because I love doing that. I love adding random things to clouds. I don't know why, it just makes me happy. Now, as you can see, I didn't cut round Libby very well, and that's because I really can't be bothered. That is quite a tiny space and it's quite footery. So instead of doing that, what I tend to do is just match it with the background. So I got some of the same blue paint, painted it in, and you can never tell. You can't tell now that there's some dodgy cut work going. Finally, a few little dots and scribbles, and yeah, this page is getting there as well. Those white scribbles are just finishing it off, and I absolutely adore how this one turned out. It is so bright and vibrant and just makes me smile. Look how messy my desk is. That's the only thing with doing these live, that like when I do YouTube videos, I sort of edit things out quite a lot and you don't necessarily see how horrifically messy the desk is. But when I'm live, that doesn't happen. Also, I don't have time to sort of tidy up as I go, so it always looks like, you know, I've been robbed after I've done a live. Now this particular live, I decided to use Create This Book. I do love a prompt book, and I don't think they have quite been embraced by the crafting world yet. I do feel, I've said this before, I feel I'm between niches. I'm not sure that I appeal to artists or to crafters. I'm a little bit of both. I'm a crafter at heart. I love crafting. I started crafting, and then I sort of started drawing again, and then sort of started designing products for the craft world. So I'm definitely very much an artist. I do a lot of drawing and painting, and then I turn that into craft products. And so prompt books for me are really great, but I just think that as crafters as well, we should embrace this. We do this a lot as crafters. We sort of steal techniques and tools from other places. You know, you sit there and think of like Copic markers. They were for the fashion industry. All the kind of Pebble gilding waxes, they started off for furniture. And we sort of borrow these little things and use them in our mixed media pages. And I really feel that we need to embrace the prompt book as well. So this is a page that I did using Mariah Elizabeth. Create This Book too, and as you can see, I've not gone in and sketched. I have gone in with my stamps. This is actually the Little Squeaks collection, and the prompt for this was create confetti. Make confetti by cutting small pieces of paper or other materials and glue it into the page. So I start off creating that confetti with this little background stamp and colour that in. On the black page, I did have to kind of go in with a white marker first. I can actually tell this is older footage because those markers were really cheap ones from B&M, which I have to say was a great place to get started. Since then, my love of acrylic markers has taken over and I have many, many brands, but it was a great starting point. Now I'm finally getting to the cutting of the paper and following the prompt. And this is what I mean about prompt books. You don't have to follow exactly. You just need, it's just gets you started. It gives you a starting point where sometimes we can stare at a blank page and go, oh, I don't know what to do. whereas a prompt book just gets us started. So I finally add all those little cut papers. They were actually from the Pretty Petals paper collection, and then I decided to add these swirls. I'm not really sure what it's about, but in a way I was kind of viewing it as this poor little mouse with the umbrella has been carried away by this swirl of confetti. I love it. It makes no sense, but like the teacup in the house, it makes no sense, but it just appeals to my love of whimsy, and so I love it. So there's my Create This Book 2 cover, and here is the page all done, and I think it's really cute. And please embrace prompt books because they are a fab thing. I think you create stuff that you wouldn't have created otherwise with a prompt book, and that's why I love it. This I loved. This is one of my new stamps. This is Celine, and when I first created her, I did her with galaxy hair and this, that and the other. And then when we did the workshop a little while ago, we did this kind of like modern art technique, and some people use green over her face, and as soon as I saw the green on her face, I thought Elphaba, and I absolutely had to create an Elphaba. And I just realised that you could change those glasses slightly, and even the kind of like sort of half side smile very much looked how Cynthia Erivo sort of smiled in the Wicked movies. So yeah, I had to give that a try. So I started off by putting watercolour down all over, building up the shadows with pencil, and then getting that pencil to blend using an alcohol marker, which is a technique that I've sort of recently discovered. And I'm going to play with more and do a video exclusively on doing that, but I need to play a little bit more. So here's me altering the glasses so that we have those, you know, the glasses that she was known for. They are so cool. And so I just went in and just changed the glasses. So you don't have to leave an image as it is. You can adapt it and make it your own. And that is one of the things I absolutely love about crafting and about stamps, is they can look so different every time you use them. You can use them over and over again, unlike colouring pages and things like that. And so you can really experiment and try lots of different things, and it's so much fun. So we've added in her eyes and the lips, and again I'm just trying to keep to that green colour tone, but I am using a dark blue to really help with the shadows. Gave her some gorgeous freckles because Elphaba had freckles in the film. And then we move on to doing the hair, and I'm going to use the same technique that I used in my face. I'm going to just do lots of scribbles. I love doing hair. You can do it so easily. It's just scribbles, and that just helps give it the movement that it needs, having all those sort of various different lines. And then once I got all that line work done, again I came in with a light grey alcohol marker, and that just helped to blend it. And just to add a little bit of extra magic sparkle, this little background stamp did come in the same set, because obviously when I first drew it was galaxy themed, but it works for magic sparkle too. And then finally, the last thing I do is pull out these acrylic gel pens. I love these, they are so fine. These have got to be one of my most favouriteest things that are in my crafty stash at the moment. And I just come in and add all those final little details. I have to say, part of me wants to do this image again and do one like girly pink and one as Elphaba. I think that would be really cool, but that might be a project for another day. But having the stamps, I can do that. And that is this one all finished as well. So I hope you enjoy this little recap. If for some reason you would like to see it in real time, you can find it in the hidden playlist. And these are the pages for just now. If you would like to join me live, it is 7:30 every Monday UK time. Do come along. We do have a bit of a laugh, and we make gorgeous projects like this. And I hope that it's left you feeling a little bit inspired and given you some ideas of what you can do in your art journals. Thank you so much for joining me today. That was really fun. Not only did I enjoy taking a trip down memory lane, I really enjoyed seeing how the fact that they were all created at different time periods, how what was going on at the time sort of really affected the inspiration, whether that be supplies that I just received or my mood that particular day, or you know, whether I was feeling more whimsical or whether I'd been inspired by a thought. It was very interesting. What inspires you? I would love to know. And what was your favourite page from today? I would love to know that too. Thank you once again for joining me. Take care, and I will see you again next Friday. Bye.